Television highlights of the news of yesteryear. It's 1911, and following June death of Edward VII, George V is King of England, with lovely Queen Mary at his side. Here, Britain's rulers review the fleet. And here in 1918, the world's greatest empire celebrates 25th wedding anniversary of its beloved King and Queen. It's July, and fighting in World War I will not be over till the November yet to come. So sovereigns celebrate the occasion by paying tribute to the women who manned the nation's wartime factories, the nurses of the nation's crowded hospitals, where there was often as much heroism as on the shell-pocked fields at the fighting front. And here, a grateful king and queen review the Yanks who came and conquered. Even his mother, Queen Alexandra, is there, aging but still beautiful, 7 years prior to her death. And standing by graciously is Alexandra's successor, Queen Mary, ever at her husband's side in important acts of state, in peacetime or in war. And here's Queen Mary in 1922, as she and King George reopened famed Westminster Hall, closed for 8 years for vital repairs to the ancient edifice. And Queen Mary rides in golden coach of state as her monarch husband heads for Parliament and annual opening day ceremonies. She is on hand for lighter duties, too, sharing honors with her husband at opening of Ascot races. Here is royal party gracing grounds in 1926. All's well with England and the Queen in warless 1920s. The King and his beautiful Queen are on hand to open Cowes Regatta, one of England's most famous sports events. The Queen's colorful son David is still the youthful and energetic Prince of Wales. Son Albert, a shy duke. Visiting royalty seems more important at the moment, as Queen Marie of Romania is escorted through Wembley Exhibition by George and Mary. Here at Burmese exhibit are two great and beautiful queens. In 1936, like any wife, Queen Mary is relieved of a great burden of fear. King George, who had been dangerously ill, is well again, and England cheers as she brings him home to Buckingham Palace. The future comes swiftly. Later in 1936, George V is dead, and Queen Mary is Queen Mother, as son David ascends the throne as Edward VIII. For 26 years, she has ruled nation and empire at her husband's side, and now her eldest son is no longer Prince of Wales, but a sovereign with a saddened heart and a future of his own. Edward abdicates, and in 1937, Queen Mary's second son is crowned King George VI, as his proud but broken-hearted mother watches. One king is dead, one departed. Long live the king. In 1939, at 72, Queen Mary still takes an active part in social affairs of state. Age has not changed her queenly bearing, or lessened her interest in the welfare and happiness of the empire's varied and far-flung population. As always, she favors little children and is the favorite of every British child. Here she is on her 83rd birthday, Britain's Queen Mother, Queen Mary, one of the greatest and best-loved women in the world.
It's April 7th, 1929, and the 80-year-old French luxury liner Paris is aground on Owl's Head Flats off Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. With 1,000 passengers, liner entered New York Harbor in heavy fog and rammed her gigantic bow deeply into the mud. A fleet of 16 tugs are assigned to dislodge the 34,000-ton ocean-going steamship, and it takes 24 hours to get her afloat. Word of merriment aboard stuck steamer reaches prohibition officers, but French officials won't let investigators come aboard. Ship's bar is sealed tight, they say, but passengers are just openly gay. In late 1920s, there's a rare sight in New York City's West 145th Street. For here stands one of last a fast-dwindling tribe of cigar store Indians. Now of great value, rarely if ever seen outside museums, cigar store Indians stood woodenly outside nearly every tobacco shop in America and in England, too. For it was in England that the first of the tribe showed up, true representatives of how Britain's sculptors imagined the American tobacco-smoking natives must appear. Early in 1700s, they spread silently over all of England. Late the same century, they migrated to America, and their forebears' then not so happy hunting ground. For more than 100 years, Big Chief Tobacco Shop glared fiercely out at cigar-puffing pale-faces. Now, fine figure of red man is fine memory. In 1929 is Army's All-American Chris Cagle. And here in action in 29 game with Yale, Cagle intercepts a pass and trots 45 to a touchdown. 3 times All-American back Cagle, wonder of West Point.
It's 9th of December 1929 as Patrick Hurley takes oath of office and becomes Secretary of War in President Hoover's cabinet. Born in Indian Territory of Oklahoma in 1883, Hurley became Supreme Court lawyer in 1912. Big step up ladder to international prominence. Patrick Hurley.
Director for Paula Negri, Emil Jennings, and Maurice Chevalier, here at his bungalow on Malibu Beach is Ernst Lubitsch. Once an actor himself, Lubitsch came to America in 1922 to direct movies starring Mary Pickford. Here in 1930, he's with actress Ona Munson and others, keeping in trim for a career of continued success.
Struck by bolt of lightning, 35,000 barrels of oil are ablaze in Bayonne, New Jersey. It's May 16th, 1922. And looks as if this fire will burn around the calendar. Firemen are powerless to prevent loss of fuel, but successfully wet down adjacent structures and thus stop spread of flames. There was a bolt from the blue, and $200,000 was blown away. Crews of the Southern Cross. In last luscious months of Roaring Twenties, people with nothing better to do but spend time and money are sailing the Atlantic seas for South America. Yes, it's 1929. Business is good on Main Street, and on Wall Street, people are getting richer with each click of the ticker. Lindbergh is still a new hero, and Charlie Chaplin is the best thing in movies. Here, bootleg booze is forgotten with bonded stuff. And life on the high seas is the same high old time as it is at home, only better. Seven-wing wonder. Yes, this is a plane with 7 wings. For it's July 20th, 1923. And at McCook Army Air Base, Dayton, Ohio, inventor W.F. Gerhart peddles something for posterity. Cycling into the wind, it's timber! Ah, well, things could be worse. The contraption might have flown before it fell apart.
Traditions for fun in 1925. Here's the belle of the beach, any beach, in the middle 1920s. And the ball of the 1925 beach gets bounced around by the outdoor guys and gals of the jazz era, no doubt getting rid of speakeasy tans. Sleeping beauties at 1925 bathing spots look like this. And here's a mother-daughter duo keeping cool with Coolidge, almost a year after the campaign. Looks as if all the surf maids of the time wore black stockings, but there's nothing dated about this pose or the empty deck chair, bait for any man. In bathing suit or Sunday best, this was the belle of 25.
Live ringers. At St. Petersburg, Florida, it's the 9th of February, 1929, and the National Horseshoe Pitching Championships are in session. William Tell did it with bow, arrow, and apple, but these fellows do it with a horseshoe, and it's a ringer every time. There's more excitement when they miss than when they make it, for there are more ringers here than in a contest of lookalikes. Among participants is this woman golfer of the Barnyard Links. She's good, for this is really pitching. Champion for 1929 is a man, though. Blair Nunemaker of Cleveland, year's best ringer slinger.